Am I the asshole for not leashing my dogs on my property to accommodate someone who was trespassing? On mobile. Sorry for any formatting issues. I live in a fairly remote area that attracts a lot of tourists due to a nearby popular hiking trail. My place has 4 units. 2 are Airbnb-type rentals and 2 are permanent residences. Mine is one of the permanent ones. We have a lot of problems with tourists using our parking for turning around, looking up directions, or just trying to park and leave their cars while they go hike. There is a large parking area for tourists by the trailhead. Our parking area is a large, open area. This is private property and there are signs posted. I have 3 friendly dogs and the other permanent resident has 2. We very rarely leash any of them. We just let them out and supervise their running and playing. I will leash them if one of the Airbnb guests has an issue with dogs. So I go to let my dogs out this afternoon and there is someone out in our parking area, messing with his snow chains. He has a kid, around 9 to 10 years old, with him. Me, are you visiting someone here? I get no response, so I ask again. Still no response, so I start playing frisbee with one of my dogs. Tourist T, can you please leash your dogs? We are afraid. Are you visiting someone here? T, no, I'm just stopped to take the chains off. Then, no, I'm not leashing my dogs. T, we are afraid of dogs. This is my home. My dogs are on my private property. Tourist gives me a dirty look but doesn't say anything. He finishes taking his snow chains off and is getting ready to leave. T, with a rude tone, I'm sorry I asked you to leash your dogs. We're just allergic and afraid. You are on private property and are trespassing. My dogs have a right to be here, on their property. Maybe you should have thought about that before saying something. He didn't say anything else and left a few minutes later. I posted about the incident on my Facebook and someone said I was rude for not accommodating. I think I'm in the right because it's my property and this guy had no right to be here and was trespassing. So, users of Reddit, am I the asshole? Edit to add a few things. Info. 1. The local laws are that dogs must be under control at all times, meaning leashed, tethered, fenced, or voice commands. My dogs are all trained to obey voice commands. 2. Public parking areas are available less than half a mile in either direction. 3. He was fully in my driveway with room to put at least 2 vehicles between him and the entrance. Also, I could and would have been nicer if I hadn't asked him twice if he was visiting and been ignored. It wasn't clear what he was doing when I first went out because he was standing next to his car. I didn't get really close because I am female and was concerned for my own safety. Edit 2. Once he told me he was scared of dogs, I made sure they stayed away from him and his car. Final edit. I hope. I got home from work and there was a note on my door. It basically said he would have been much more comfortable if I had leashed my dogs but thanked me for, at least being nice enough to keep the dogs away. So, for all the people who said I'm the asshole, at least know I wasn't a total not the asshole. I hate dogs. I hate people who let their dogs off leash in public. And you are completely in the right here. It's your property, full stop. Go nuts. This entitled dude can nick off. Robber, hey, can you remove your security cams? It's making my crime harder to do. So not the asshole. You have no obligation to accommodate criminals. LMAO edit. Holy shit, 1K upvotes, thanks y'all. Not the asshole. You have signs posted. It's your property. They're trespassing. It's like going into someone's home and asking them not to have milk in their fridge because you're lactose intolerant. You can leave with your milk-free self, and they can skedaddle with their dog-fearing selves. Some people get really indignant when they're called out on their wrongdoing. Not the asshole. Your property. I am nervous from your descriptions of frequent tourists and cars coming in and out. I'd worry about having my dog off leash even on my own property if there's a lot of car traffic. Maybe it's time for a fence. Not the asshole. It's your dog's home. As long as your dogs are good and don't jump at people, or will come when called, versus dogs that don't listen and run and jump all over people, then it would be an ESH. If the people are allergic and afraid, they can go somewhere else that isn't clearly signposted private property to do their chain removal. Also, they were rude not answering you. This feels like an excuse to rant. Not the asshole. Do you have signs? One thing irked me. Why do people take such offense to people using their driveways to turn around? I sometimes see signs with exclamation points and capital letters. What's the big deal if the first half of the vehicle pokes in while making a 3-point turn? You're not rude for accommodating but kinda rude for the way you responded after they apologized. You aren't the asshole for not leashing your dogs, but dude was apologizing and you acted like an asshole to him. Info, I know with how you described it, it sounds like you live kind of remotely. But with how close it is to a trail that attracts tourists, does your county have leash laws? If yes, no matter who is around the property, unless the property is enclosed, you legally can't have your dogs outside unleashed. Obviously, this doesn't give rude-ass tourists the right to anything. But as someone who has dogs and has had traumatic experiences with other dogs, I get extreme anxiety anytime I see someone letting their dog loose in the front yard while I walk by or on the other side of the road, and it sucks because sure, it's their property. I'm just walking by and, Fifi would never hurt anyone. But, they can. Sometimes, that perfect recall doesn't work. If the allergies thing is true, he could have asked you politely first while he messed with the chains. He could have apologized for the, albeit minor, trespassing, saying that he needed a safe place to pull over to do what he needed to do. Instead, he ignored you at first and expected one sentence from him being enough to force compliance from you after initially ignoring you. Not the asshole, at all. Not the asshole. Tourists parked on private property. They were trespassing and you shouldn't have to accommodate them. Not the asshole. It's your property. It's not public. They have zero authority. You were right in your final remark to point out them trespassing on private land. Not the asshole. I can't even believe this tourist had the audacity. Animal control once told a relative that it wasn't legal for her dog to be not contained on her property and said that the dog could be impounded if not in a fence, physical or electric, or on leash. That's how the leash law works here. Not sure about yours. The other thing is that I'd just caution you to be careful in situations like this. You never know when someone is crazy enough to try to run your dog over. People are crazy. NTA. It's your property. They had no business being there and demanding anything. There's technically right and then there's showing kindness. Not the asshole. How entitled can tourist be? Get off people's private property, man. I mean, NTA, you have the right, but also, not a kind person. I have a 120-pound Schepweiler and I can see both sides here. They pulled over to fix their car, and asked you nicely to leash an unknown dog. It's not like they were harassing you and issues with chains tend to need an immediate fix. If people politely ask me to leash my horse dog I will. If they are rude I might not. It doesn't sound like they were rude. I wouldn't call you an asshole for this but what would it have cost you to accommodate another human being for a few minutes? Was it that important to be right? Mate, come on. You just said he was trespassing on private property. This answers itself. Nah, the tourist didn't demand anything. If you have common problems with tourists accidentally stopping on your private property, they're doing a slightly bad thing, but they're not automatically assholes for it. The ones who leave their car parked to go hiking, are pretty bad though. Info. What are the local laws about leashing dogs? In my town if there's no fence they must be leashed even if on my property. Put a sign up. Parking $10. Dangerous dogs on site. Violators will be towed. Others may be eaten. Not the asshole. I'm not sure this should really be posted here. Sure, some random person on Facebook shared an opinion and the tourist seemed a bit miffed, but I don't really see the internal conflict. If you're just looking for some reassurance then definitely not the asshole. Not the asshole. Your dogs are allowed to be off leash on your property. So, for that matter, are a property owner's cats. Not the asshole. Why the hell would you have to accommodate a stranger trespassing? That is insanity. I hate these kinds of posts. Obviously not the asshole. But you already know that. Why do you need to defend yourself to someone on Facebook? Just the way you worded it makes it obvious that you know you're in the right, and that you shouldn't feel bad for not accommodating someone that was trespassing. Not the asshole. I'm gonna weigh in from a U.S. Postal Service letter carrier's perspective just for a second. Just FYI, assuming you are in the United States, if not, disregard. If there's a dog loose on the property, letter carriers have the option to mark your mail and parcels as attempted but not delivered due to an animal interference. As someone who's been attacked twice by dogs whose owners swear up and down that their dogs are the friendliest, sweetest beings in existence, I just can't help but think about how your letter carrier delivers to your residence. I hope they don't get jumped on too often. You're not the asshole, but would it really be that hard to just put them on the leash for a couple minutes? Not the asshole. My dog almost got put down after being labeled as a vicious dog because my neighbor came onto my property without announcing herself and he did his job. He almost attacked her before I stopped him. I had to go to court and pay $60 to keep him from being put down. She claimed that he was a vicious dog, but like I said, he was just doing his job. What the hell did she think was going to happen when she came on my property unannounced knowing I had a dog? Not the asshole. But you took the wrong tack by allowing discussion of the dogs. The dogs were never a relevant issue. The conversation should have been focused squarely on the presence of the tire chain guy on private property. As soon as he opened his mouth, you should have politely informed him that he needed to leave immediately. Not the asshole. Doesn't matter if your parking area is 50 hectares or 10 feet by 5, it's your land and it's trespassing if someone comes on it without permission. There might have been some lenience for this guy if he took a wrong turn, then realized he needs to fix his chains. But for getting shirty about your dogs loose on your property, he's the put up roadblocks, gates, etc. You are not obliged to deal with any of this. Plus, think of the safety of your dogs. Randoms driving up to your place will not be mindful of them, when they can't even read signs saying it's private properly. Not the asshole. Your property, your rules. They were trespassing, so they have to deal with anything that is going on your land. Dog tax. Not the asshole. I now want to stay at your Airbnb with 5 dogs running around. Hiking and dogs are all I need in life. NTA. If I park on someone's property illegally, then I'm not going about making demands. Not the asshole. If you want to walk around naked painting the trees blue while whistling Dixie and feeding your dog bunny livers on your own private property, you have that right. These people were trespassing. They were in the wrong. Not the asshole, and you should monetize this. Clearly there's demand for it. Why not help with the supply? Winking face. Not the asshole. We have an underground fence and my dogs bark at people who go by but never leave our yard. Some people scream and swear at them. I don't feel bad going out and making sure they know it is the dog's yard and not theirs. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. You guys should get a gate for the lane. You are the asshole on the way you approach this. Seems you have built up quite a bit of anger towards tourists using your private property. Since it happens so often, probably the signage is unclear. Or maybe you just need to fence it off with a gate. Why not lead with the statement that this is private property? Sounds like the other guy is on a road trip. He is probably tired from driving long hours and now has to struggle with snow chains while having to deal with a passive-aggressive dude that doesn't contain his dogs. You're right in that you shouldn't have to leash your dogs, but people will view you as an asshole. Not the asshole, and F that guy. Really? Telling you to leash your very well-behaved dogs on their property and they are trespassing. GTF out of here with that. Good on you for telling him exactly what you told him. Maybe his child will learn better behavior than their father was demonstrating. You are the asshole. You shouldn't need to wait to be told that Airbnb guests have an issue with dogs before controlling your pets. The default should be not hassling people. We are afraid of dogs. Good. Maybe you shouldn't trespass then. Not the asshole. Accommodating. Are you a bed and breakfast? You need to delete this person off of Facebook to be accommodating for your mental health. Not the asshole. I am not a big fan of dogs, however I do not expect people to bend over backwards on their own property to make me feel comfortable. Hard. Not the asshole. When we stay at the family cabin, all dogs are off leash, and they run around and play all day. There are people who use a trail on the top of the property, and will sometimes ride horses through. If we hear them coming, we usually make sure the dogs are close by, but that's mainly so they don't get their knuckleheads kicked in by a nervous horse. There's lots of wildlife, including very noses bears, and the job of my dog pack is to scare them off the property. Even my tiny 17-pound yapper knows how to tree a bear and alert us. So yeah, this is their place and they're doing their job. Not the asshole, but maybe invest in a few dozen no trespassing signs to scare off the muggles. Yeah, I have celiacs and I don't break into people's houses and lick their counters and get angry that there's gluten there. WTF. Not the asshole.